Thanks everyone for joining and jumping in on the webinar. My name is Zach Heil. I'm with Game Master Athletic Mar, Director of Sales. I'm joined today by Doug Jones, who is our Director of Marketing at Game Master. At Game Master, we make the Louisville Slugger Blue, Black, and Blue Flame Pro pitching machines. Today we're going to talk a little bit about those items, some tips, some tricks, some questions that we see regularly come across to our platforms, as well as how these machines can make your son or daughter a better overall player. So with that, we can get into it. Doug, you've been here about 15 plus years, going back to the original pitching machine. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, we've seen a lot of things using the pitching machines, both with the Blue Flame, the original pitching machine, and then introduced the Black Flame and now the Blue Flame Pro, with the little differences in performance for each of these pitching machines, but essentially allowing you to reach different speed levels and different performance levels with each of the machines.
Absolutely. So a lot of people may or may not know this, but these are machines that are regularly used throughout a lot of youth organizations. Pony baseball being one, as well as Babe Ruth League, as well as their softball divisions as well. So see a lot of positive things with that. So we'll get right into it. Again, we mentioned we have the three models: the Blue Flame, the Black Flame, and the Blue Flame Pro, with the original machine being the Blue Flame, and then we rolled out the Black Flame, and then we have the most recently, a couple of years ago, the Blue Flame Pro. A lot of these machines are very, very similar in how they work and function. But I'll turn it over to let Doug give a brief overview of the main differences, essentially, from all three of these machines.
Sure. So I'm going to show a couple of videos as we're going through this, but basically demonstrating the use of the different machines and how you can fine tune them to get the most performance out of each of the machines, and give you some tips and tricks on various things like throwing fly balls, ground balls, and those sort of things. So let's get started there. In front of me, I have our original Blue Flame pitching machine. We have our Black Flame pitching machine, and we have our new Blue Flame Pro pitching machine. And I just wanted to explain a little bit about how they operate and the difference between the three units. So starting with our UPM 45 or Blue Flame pitching machine, this is a pitching machine that's been around for a while. It's one of the best-selling pitching machines in the world. It's used by big leagues around the world, including Pony League and Babe Ruth League, and it's the official pitching machine of those leagues. So great for coaches pitch, as well as for training purposes. So with the Blue Flame pitching machine, simple mechanical design. You can take it anywhere. Doesn't need power. It has a spring-loaded design. So essentially, you can change the speed settings all the way up to 45 miles an hour. And you can use softballs, baseballs, wiffle balls, whatever type of ball you choose. And it has various speed settings for different age groups and skill levels. So how it operates, and all of our pitching machines operate in very much the same way. You can adjust the speed settings here. Right now it's set at 7 out of 11. So as you increase the spring tension, the speed will follow. So right now it's about 3/4 of the way through on the speed setting. And all you do here is you can adjust this for raised pitches. This is a micro adjustment knob that allows you to increase the height and either go up or down in the strike zone by just inches by simply turning this micro adjustment knob. And you can also release this and move it up on this handle, this throwing arm, and reattach it. And what it does is changes the trajectory of the pitch. So as I move it upwards on the throwing arm, it actually raises the pitch. So you can actually throw high fly balls with the pitching machines, and you can throw hard grounders as well. So it's just as simple as that to adjust it up and down. When you're ready to throw, all you do is move this arm back and lock it under the throwing arm block. Drop the ball in here, push down on the foot pedal, and then pull back to release the ball, and it throws. So super accurate, great for in-game situations with coach pitch leagues, and it's a really simple unit to work with once you understand how to set the speed settings. Now, moving over here to the Black Flame pitching machine, essentially the operation of this unit is exactly the same as with the Blue Flame. The difference being with this is it has higher speed settings. So you're adding about 5 miles an hour to the speed settings here. And this one also includes an accessory block here that's attached to the hood. This accessory block actually on the throwing arm, we have a release right here, the triangular block. If I replace that with this piece, it'll actually increase the height of a fly ball. So you can replace that if you're just going to work with young players and throw fly balls accurately. You'd simply replace it with this, and then we've mounted it on the top here just to make it easy so that you don't lose this at practices. And it comes with a threaded triangle knob here that allows you to attach it, and then you're ready to go. So the same as the Blue Flame pitching machine, it lays flat in the trunk. We can take this front stabilizer bar off, and it'll lay flat in anybody's trunk, and it's super easy to take. It's very lightweight, very durable, easy to use in games, and allows you to work with kids and them not have the fear of getting hit by a pitch. This is going to be accurate right down the middle of the plate every time. Now, this year we're introducing the new Blue Flame Pro, which has quite a few differences over the previous models. What we've tried to do is make it faster again. So we've added another 5 miles an hour, different spring tension there. The other thing we did was we designed a new block attachment here that allows you to, you can see at the top of this throwing arm, we've actually reduced the amount of steel in there, making it lighter weight, but we also have created a groove so you can really have it finely tuned for pitching. So this new plastic throwing arm block allows you to sit that right in the same groove. Same idea though here, we can use the micro adjustment. We can move the pitch up and down in the strike zone. And it has a frictionless carriage right here that in previous editions they've had bolts that we use for this. Now we have a bearing system, so there's less friction. It's a lot smoother action when it throws, and we've got that attached to the spring tension, and we've designed a whole new foot pedal here. So it's a much easier system to work with, and even the speed settings here, a much different block as opposed to the previous examples. This is a better design. It surrounds the foot pedal arm. We can just slide it into the speed setting, and using the cotter pin attached, it'll lock it into that speed setting. Cock the arm back, put the ball on top, press the foot pedal down, and pull back on the release lever. So just an improved design, new patents around our throwing arm attachment, our frictionless design for the bearing system, and then reducing the overall weight of the system and increasing the speed. So that's kind of a breakdown between the 3 different units. All 3 units are exceptional units for accuracy, consistency, and also ease of use for coaches and players alike.
You know, one of the things that we see amongst our teams and players, you know, from softball to baseball players, is not every kid on each team is the same height. So when it comes to reps and practice, taking swings, everyone might need the adjustment to the pitch and the strike zone, whether to be up or low, or excuse me, lower or higher. So one of the main things that we like to see is that with our pitching machines, they'll deliver a level pitch. With that being said, there also needs to be some adjustment in the strike zone. So our machines are fully capable of doing that. And I'll let Doug explain a little bit more on how the micro adjustment actually works
Sure. Yeah. So before I get into the video segment on that, it's really what a lot of people tend to do is try and move the machine around to make adjustments to these pitches, and really that's what the micro adjustment knob is for, so that you can move it up and down the strike zone for various pitch heights very easily, very quickly. So we'll go through some of those details in this video. I'm just going to set this up for a very level pitch. Now, one of the things that a lot of our customers experiences is when they first get the pitching machines, it takes them a while to get used to, okay, what are the settings so that I can get this consistent? Well, first thing I suggest is let's set it right in the middle settings. So you take your settings for the throwing arm and take your settings for the release lever, put them right in the middle settings. Now, that's going to set it up as a consistent level pitch by itself, but then you have to analyze how fast do you want to pitch. And that's really up to you on what's the most effective speed for young players or for your team. So if I want to increase or decrease the speed, I can do that. Simply to decrease the speed, I move it down to a slower setting on the power pedal, or I can move it up. I'm going to leave it right where it is at number 7. And what I do when I get to the field is I set this up, try and make it as level as possible. So if you're on a mound, try and pick an area of the ground that levels it out. It's set up as a middle setting. Just do this, throw towards the batter's box, and then say, okay, was that too high or was that too low? If it's too high, but it's only a matter of a couple of inches, we can use the micro adjustment to move it up and down very quickly in the strike zone. If it's way low, what I would suggest is, if it's low, move this block the throwing arm block, move it down one at a time here. So you're just going to move it down one setting, and that's going to raise the pitch. Now this is also based on distances you're pitching from. So you could be pitching from 60 feet or you could be pitching from 30 feet. But just make an adjustment like that, test it again. Take a few moments to just get the machine dialed in. The last piece is when you're dealing with different heights of players. You might have a player that's 5'9" and you have a player that's 5'6". In order to adjust the machine for them, you don't want to reset the throwing arm blocks or the micro adjustment position on the throwing arm. What you want to do is use this micro adjustment screw. And what this does is, if you loosen this screw by turning it counterclockwise, it's going to raise the pitch. It's going to raise it up in micro levels, so an inch or two. If I tighten this screw, turning it clockwise, it's going to lower the pitch. So by lowering the pitch, it's going to go down 1 or 2. So you're going to have to make those adjustments during games or practices based on the height of the player. So just that micro adjustment screw allows it to go up and down in the strike zone.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Doug. You know, a pitching machine, people think that just throws pitches. Exactly that. You know, one of the great things about all 3 of our machines is that they offer different fielding. As a fielding trainer, from anywhere from throwing ground balls as well as fly balls. So one of the big benefits of this option is that not everyone is capable of hitting a fungo, you know, whether that be for ground balls or for fly balls, and doing that effectively. So one of the benefits of these machines is that they will actually throw a ground ball and or a fly ball in the same position pretty regularly. So the nice thing about that with kids, you can really maximize efficiency in practice. You know, you're not taking 3 or 4 swings just to get a ball out to them, you know, if you challenge in that aspect. So Doug's going to actually walk through the process of how to set up the pitching machines to throw the ground balls as well as the fly balls.
Yeah, so Zach, you bring up a good point, is that we want our machines to be multi-dimensional in practices and at home. And one of the things with trying to hit fungo as a parent or a coach is the consistency of the fly balls. So this allows you to throw consistent fly balls. You know, you're not throwing them 300 feet. I'd be realistic with this, but you can control the height and the distance that they're going. The other thing I should mention is that you can incorporate some training balls along with this, so it's not just the regular baseball. So some people like to use tennis balls and restricted flight balls. Just as kids are just learning the game of baseball, sometimes there's a fear getting under a fly ball. So when you try these tips on throwing fly balls and grounders, realize that you can incorporate some different balls into your training. But in this video, I'll show you how to adjust your pitches to throw into the ground as far as ground balls and fly balls as well. One of the things that a lot of the teams and players do is they want to practice different types of things like grounders and fly balls. So you'll see on the side of the unit here, you'll see some settings here to raise or lower the pitch. And if I go to the top settings here, it says the word ground ball. So if I want to throw something into the ground to simulate ground balls, all I have to do is change out the throwing arm stop, move it up on the release arm. I'm going to spin that close, and that by itself is going to throw the ball lower. So it's going to throw it into the dirt. You'll also see the same settings on the micro adjustment arm here. This micro adjustment lever here, I can lower the pitch by moving it down on this arm, or raise the pitch by moving it up. So if I really want to throw it in the dirt, I'm going to move it down to the bottom setting here. So just to demonstrate this, the operation of the machine is exactly the same. We're not going to change, but you'll see how it sits up at a higher angle here under the release arm, release block. And when I throw this now, the ball is coming downwards instead of at a straight angle. So you can adjust that. If you find that you want even lower to really throw it into the dirt for blocking drills and things like this with catchers, then you simply take the micro adjustment and move that down to lower pitch settings at number 1 here. And that'll be very much a low pitch. So you'll see how the ball comes off the machine here is going to throw it really down. So there's a big variety in how you can how you can set up this machine. So that's completely for grounders. Now, if you want to look at high fly balls, you're going to do the exact opposite. So for fly balls, you're gonna take this throwing arm stop. You're gonna drop it right down to the bottom here, where it says raise pitch. And you're gonna do exactly the same thing here on the throwing arm. You're gonna take the micro adjustment knob. You're gonna move that right up to the top. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you a high fly ball. Now, we're indoors, so I'm going to move this up to the net a little bit so I don't have any issues. I'm going to drop this down, and I'm going to throw it that way. But by simply doing that, you can start working with youth to create high fly.
So Doug, one of the things that some concerns or some questions people have been asking us about, the machine moving when it throws a pitch. Obviously, it's a mechanical machine. It's a spring is releasing that tension, and sometimes it'll tend to jump or move a little bit. So can you help us out with understanding the best practice as far as, making sure that machine is stable and sturdy in the environment that they're using, whether that's on the field and or, in a training or practice facility inside?
Yeah. Yeah. So there are ground spikes, especially when you're on the mound or on the field and throwing pitches. The machine will shift slightly, and usually you have to make some adjustments to bring it back in line. But what the ground spikes will allow you to do, and I'll show them in this video, is anchor the machine down, so it eliminates that twisting of the machine to get it out of line. So they're pretty effective tool. Now, when you're indoors, it's a little more challenging because you can't anchor into the floor. So usually the rubber foot pegs on the machine themselves will keep the machine from sliding around. But when you're on the field, I'd highly recommend the ground spikes, and I'll show you how to do them, how to attach them to the machine in this video.
Doug, on that kind of point, just to piggyback on that, one question we've been asked is, if the stakes are secure in the machine, or say they have sandbags on an interior, surface of the machine, how do they adjust, the pitch from the zone for going inside and outside? Maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So again, when you're pitching with the machine, you have the front stabilizer bar, the piece that's across the front that gives it stability, but you can adjust by just moving the vertical bar left and right to move the pitch inside and outside. It's just a simple tap of the foot will move these side to side. You don't have to reset the whole machine. It does have a little bit of a twist from the front stabilizer bar. So just subtle adjustments with your foot will allow you to move inside and outside. And then use your micro adjustment knob to go up and down the strike zone. You'll be pretty accurate. It does take a little bit of practice, but once you get the machine dialed in, those subtle little adjustments with the micro adjustment and just moving it back and forth with your foot you'll be able to control exactly where this pitch goes.
You know, and one last question for you, maybe it's just more of a statement or thought for anything. You know, one of the things that we see when people first buy the machine is that it doesn't operate exactly how they thought it did right away. And one thing I think that we see the most is that it takes some time to get used to develop, you know, pitching it consistently, you know, a consistent spot that you're throwing it from, a consistent release when you release the throwing arm, consistent placing the baseball or softball in the throwing arm the same manner each time. Anything else you'd like to add with that, Doug?
Yeah, I think you know, as one thing you'll notice is as your baseballs get worn out, you know, we're always using the same baseballs over and over again. And as they get worn out and the seams tend to get ripped or raised a little bit, it can affect the flight of the ball. So usually you want to have those balls in good shape to get that consistency. But the other thing is just being you as a coach or as a parent you need to have the same approach every time you pitch the ball with one of these pitching machines. So it's not severe movements. You're not yanking back on the release lever. You're just slowly pulling it back, being very deliberate. And once you do that and get into a rhythm, stay with that. Don't vary how you do things. It's when you use sudden movements or really don't approach it in the same way, you don't get that consistent pitch to the player. You know, once it's always worthwhile when you hit the field or when you're practicing with your kids or your team, that you take a couple of minutes at the very beginning to dial in your machine, get it set before you start pitching the players. Just get it set, get everything controlled, and then once it's set, use the same approach for every kid, make micro adjustments for the heights of the batter, and it'll be easy. It's when you're rushing through it and don't take that time to set up the machine properly at the beginning of practice, then you get frustrated because the kids are frustrated. But it's just it's one of those things that once you get used to how everything operates and you get comfortable with the machine, it gets easier and easier. The other thing I would say is every season, you're going to haul the machine out, start using it again. But over time, the springs will actually get weaker. So just because it pitched really well for you last year doesn't mean it's going to pitch exactly the same way the next year, because your springs need to be replaced every so often. So you can easily get replacement springs for your machines to keep them in top form. But a lot of people, like 2 or 3 years down the road, saying my machine isn't pitching the way it used to. Well, it's simply because the spring is getting worn out because of use. Replace the spring, it'll be like new. And a lot of people fail to do that and then get frustrated because it's not pitching as well as it did before. It's just preventive maintenance more than anything that's to keep this machine going. So.
Perfect. Awesome. Good stuff on the pitching machine, Doug, and thanks for walking through that as well. So I believe that's all we have for today. Again, thank you for the time, Doug, and your expertise in the pitching machines, and it's much appreciated. So if any of you folks that are watching have any further questions, you know, concerns or anything we can help you out with for these machines, we love to help you out and answer any questions or provide any knowledge that we have. You know, and curious of your feedback as well too. So there'll be a link here behind the video that you can click and access us. You can also visit our website there as well. So again, until next time, we appreciate it. Thanks very much.
All right. Thanks, Zach.